want to start with the premise, big idea, that this huge endeavor, this human endeavor that we are all engaged in, i.e. the internet, creating the internet, this out-of-control experiment, involves innumerable millions of terminals, PCs, all around the world, and that this thing which is growing organically, made of machines and software, growing organically, is inevitably going to resemble a giant construct of the human brain. Yeah? You with me on that? And here's my point. The brain, that brain is going to look like the brain of a DJ. That's the good news or the bad news. We'll come to that. So, a big point here is that I'm going to talk about the internet largely, but I'm going to do it through the microcosm of music. And I'm with Joe Strummer on this, which is that music is at the base of everything. Music is huge. It's mankind's articulate messing with the stuff around us to induce an emotional response. So it's a metaphor for life. It's a universal language. And so while I'm going to concentrate on music, I want you guys to put that premise together with what I just said and draw your own conclusions about how that can impact culture and communication on a larger level. So why the DJ? Well, because the DJ is a medium, okay? What does the DJ do? What are his skills or her skills? Discovery, mixing, sharing, okay? This interaction with the audience, reading the audience and then transmitting it back. Think about the things that are working on the internet right now and think about how that applies to those as well. Okay, so let's think about some examples of, I'm going to assume that the discovery piece is kind of taken care of. We know about Pandora, Last.fm, Spotify, everyone here is hip to that. What I want you to think about is more what goes on when you kind of get to these platforms and you can actually interact with the music itself. So let's take Soundcloud, probably the most popular platform with DJs right now because you can store your mixes for free and let people download them, which you couldn't do a few years ago. It was a real pain in the neck getting your mixes out to people. So the Soundcloud page, a lot of you will probably be familiar with this now iconic sound wave bar that you'll see on Facebook. You'll see it all over the place where people will put their track or their mix and there'll be the sound wave, which is a visual representation of your music. Now on that, you'll see lots of little markers now where people can comment in track, and there's also time coding. For example, 8 tracks, which is a great radio, handcrafted radio on the internet where any of you can make an 8-track mix and put it out there for your friends to download. Remember the old days of the cassette? I certainly do, making those mixes and putting them out there. Now it's all digitized, it's on a nice little sound wave, and there's in-track commentary and in-track time coding. This is on a radio station, okay? 8 tracks call themselves handcrafted radio, but it allows you to check the time coding of the track, which means that if you're a DJ or if you're a musician or if you want to mess with music in any way, you can interact with that music. Now let's move on to probably the darling of the moment, which is Turntable FM. Anybody know Turntable FM here? Hands up. Yeah, okay. It's basically a room for you to go and be a DJ. But my point is it doesn't actually replicate DJing. It doesn't, you're not actually being a DJ in there. What it does is it deconstructs it and allows you to do some of the things that you do as a DJ. So what happens is you get a little avatar that joins this room, which is one of those little animations, and you have to muscle your way onto the decks, which when you're starting DJing is the most difficult thing. You've actually got to get the deck time. So you've got to get up there, and then when one DJ's played a track, you can then suggest the next track. And guess what? All the people who are on Turntable FM in that room at that time get to vote as to whether it was a good selection or not. And there's a lame-ometer, right? So if your selection is lame, the track goes off, you're off the decks. Okay, so it's brilliantly replicated in a really fun way what a part of DJing is about. And so what I'm talking about here is the interacting and, if you like, sharing of music online. Because this is something that I tell my kids all the time. Sharing isn't just about giving people access to your stuff. It's about letting them play with it too. Yeah? So this is happening now with music in a really, really interesting way, and I think that this is one of the things that makes me believe that the process that a DJ gets into when he wants to mash things up or wants to mix them is now being replicated on the internet in a bigger way. So let's think about how that would work with like a platform like Indaba, which is, again, hands up who knows about Indaba. Wow, okay, there are 600,000 members on Indaba now. Okay, it calls itself the LinkedIn of music, right? So what it does is it allows people to enter remix contests. A big star like Alicia Keys will put her track up there, and you can compete to remix that track if you want to. So it opens up, gone are the days of the big star releases a record, goes on tour, and you have to stand in the crowd and go, isn't she fantastic? Right? You can now interact. You can actually remix her stuff there. Now, getting back to the point about how this relates to maybe this giant brain, the big internet out there, think about connectivity, how people are connecting through music. Another example, very popular iPhone app, the Ocarina. That's the one where you can take the phone out and you can blow into the microphone, and the screen has little keys on it, and you can play the flute. It's one of the top downloaded iPhone apps ever. The great thing about that, apart from that it's really cool, and it's great for impressing your grandparents with if you want to show them why the iPhone's so great, is that it's got a little globe at the bottom, and you touch the globe icon, and once you've made a tune, it pulls up all of the people around the world who've got iPhones who might be using that app at that time. That's connectivity through music, which, as we all know, is one of the biggest drivers of social behavior around. I mean, look around you, okay? So what that might translate to in terms of the internet and the brain is all of these different communications going around through music are like all the synapses in a brain working together. Millions and millions of things going on all the time through all of these musicians around the world who are all working together. So what's the bad news? Well, I guess if you really want, your internet to look like Shakespeare or Rembrandt, probably not going to work out that way, because they would probably be more like, the vertically integrated closed system, if you look inside their minds and the way they work, of a major record label or a big publishing house. Closed systems, we know how well they're doing now. Whereas, your internet might look a little bit more like Paul Oakenfold or Giles Peterson, okay, or Colcott even. And the good news is that all of this has brought out an incredible democratization of music. I mean, everybody is now DJing. Again, look around you. How many people are DJing, myself included, at this fabulous event, who, when we were growing up, I couldn't play an instrument, and now we have a chance to express ourselves in a way, because what's continuing to happen with the internet is that the people who create stuff, who make things, are able to communicate with the people who appreciate them and who curate them. And that is a really, really valuable relationship. Going back to Alicia Keys and her Facebook page, where there's a little icon for the Indaba project. So you go to her Facebook page, you're a fan. Maybe you've actually got a MacBook Pro and some basic music tools on there. You can actually download her track, make a remix, compete with it. I mean, it really knocks American Idol for six, because you can be a producer if that's the kind of thing that you want to do. You can at least find out if you're going to be good at it. And so, for my probably the biggest thing that I learned as a DJ was that everybody has an appreciation of music. Well, if you have an appreciation of music, you have a talent. Okay, so if everyone's a DJ, you can do this. And the internet now is really making that happen. And these are the tools that you've got. So please check them out on the internet. Turntable FM, Indaba. I'm just going to finish with a fantastic example, which is Echo Nest, which is a site which is, they've put out a music genome recognition thing so that it actually breaks music down so that you can work with it and they have hackathons. This is a company in Boston. They have monthly hackathons where all the developers come, and they just play with the music, which has been reduced down to something that you can work with, material you can work with. So, for example, the last thing they produced was an app for your phone where you can instantly make a dubstep remix out of any track on your iPhone. I mean, how great is that? So, thanks very much. Hope to see you at Disorient tonight.